I've had enough of this! My ears aren't being used nearly enough. I need some random noise to make sure I don't accidentally book a trip to Ohio. I got it.
I feel as if a lot of people take video game music for granted now, and honestly, I can't blame them. I feel most of the time whenever I boot up a game for the first time, I'm hit in the face with the loudest sound headphones can even produce. I immediately slam all the sound settings to low, and the lowest is always the music. And I'm assuming other people do this as well, because it goes over as something in the back. Why would I focus on the music that's playing when I'm blowing the brains out of demons or slicing military men into salami, or struggling to not die against a skeleton named after a font? When it comes to subtle things in games, it's hard to really notice how important they are to the game. Things like voice acting, sound design, and level design are all factors that can make or break a game. Music falls into that category by being the emotional glue that sets the tone of the game. It's the loud, bombastic soundtrack that makes you feel as if you're fighting a Goliath, the upbeat tempo that gets your blood pumping, and the emotional gut punch during a sad scene. Music has the ability to set tones in media, and video games are no exception. First off, Doom. Doom has this extremely loud and heavy metal soundtrack, which fits the gameplay of ripping and tearing demons into salami. But let's just say you replace this music with the slide theme from Mario 64 and it just turns goofy. Another game that uses music in a fantastic way is Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild originally got backlash for not having the loud, bombastic soundtrack that previous Zelda games had, but this was for the better. Breath of the Wild has a calm and quiet soundtrack, which is fitting because you are in a post-apocalyptic world and walking through nature. There's only you and the natural life. But when you fight a guardian, there is a certain fear that is struck within you. The frantic piano gives you this sense of fear and danger. Go into a battle with a blight and you get this orchestrated piece that makes you feel as if you're taking on a giant. Enter a village, stable, or really any place with civilization, and you get a lively soundtrack that lifts your fear of dying by tripping. Sometimes. But my point is that this game acknowledges that music sets a scene and a mood, and they have to be used correctly. There's this little visual novel called Doki Doki Literature Club, which basically uses its light and bubbly theme to make you feel at ease. It makes you feel all calm and stuff. Maybe this is a normal visual novel after all. My friends are such silly It uses the same theme, same melody. It was used throughout the entirety of the game, but this time, it's used in a different way to make you feel a sense of panic and fear. This is called a leitmotif, and it can be used to represent a character in different settings and situations. Let me give you an example. This is Princess Peach's castle theme in Super Mario 64. And this is her theme in Mario Tennis 64. And this is her theme in New Super Mario Bros. U. You hear the difference? These three different songs had the same leitmotif. But just changing the key or instrument of the song can drastically change the mood. The Mario 64 one has this elegance and light feel to it, fitting for the light and bubbly adventure that you were going on. The Mario Tennis one gets you pumped, ready for the fast-paced action of a tennis match. And the new Super Mario Bros. U has this ominous feel to it. This is because Bowser actually took over Peach's castle, but you could already tell that something was wrong by the tone and mood of the music. But what about games that don't have music at all? Phasmophobia takes advantage of its setting and gets rid of music as a whole. You are in a haunted house. The only people in there are you, your crew, and the ghost. This lack of music gives you this sense of emptiness. It makes you feel even more paranoid, and even more scared. Every sound is amplified. The footsteps, doors shutting, and your dumbass crew. That's going in the video. But this gives the entire game an unsettling mood that really gives you a scare, even with the mediocre death animation. Hell, I could even change the tone of the video that you are watching right now. If I put a Sonic Mania track in the background and start talking like this, the entire tone shifts to something extremely high energy. But if I switch to something more chill and start talking like this, you suddenly experience an entire tonal whiplash. I swear I could talk about this topic for hours.
But Goopy, doesn't music do this in movies and shows as well?
Yes. These are both technically just music. One so happens to just have different words in front of it. But unlike movies or shows, games are unpredictable. The entire speed and pacing of the game is set by the plastic roper in front of the screen. And if you know anything about music, it don't do that. So how do you transition from one thing to another based on a change that happens in the game when you have no idea when that's gonna happen? You can either be dumb and lazy and uncool and just fade in between them, or you could use adaptive music. Okay, one great example of this is Banjo and Kazooie. You're prancing around and you hear this nice jolly theme, but I want to go underwater and whoa, the music turns muffled. You go over here and whoa, boss fight version. Not only does this change in the music change the entire mood of what's happening, but it also guides the player to let them know what's happening. These different versions of the same theme are triggered by being in different places, and I think that is neat. But I feel as if no other company does this better than Nintendo. Odyssey has so many cute details, like when you go into a 2D section, the music goes all 8-bit. And okay, this blew my mind when I first heard this. Remember the observatory theme from Mario Galaxy? Of course you do, it was beautiful. Okay, listen to this. I love it so much! In Mario Kart Wii, there is a theme for everything. But when you're selecting characters and vehicles and thingamabobs, the closer you get to the race, the more exciting the music gets. And in Mario Kart 8, when it's the final lap, the music goes double the tempo and gives you a heart attack. Also, when you are in first place, it plays a disco version of the song. And there are certain tracks that have items that play music and they match the tempo and theme of the song depending on which part of the song that's playing right now. That's cool! I like that! Every Animal Crossing game has this neat mechanic, so every hour of the day has a different piece of music. And there are 3 different variants of each piece for each hour, and that's all depending on the weather. So that makes 72 different tracks of music for each day. But the thing is, most people aren't even gonna hear all of the tracks, because they don't want to play Animal Crossing at 4 AM. I am not one of those people. In Splatoon, at the 1 minute mark, the music changes to a more energetic song. Also, speaking of Splatoon, Splatoon probably has one of the best world building I have seen in a while. Everything is fleshed out, from the lore to the gameplay. Everything feels at home. But when a song plays in the game, it fits right in. Not only because it matches the style of the game, but also because they speak the Inkling language in the song. This is because the music that exists in the game is all made by actual bands that exist in the Splatoon world. This is never deliberately told to the player, but it is a neat little piece of info, and I just think it's cool. But listen, if you really want to impress me, you have to do more than just make music. You have to make music mechanics. Rhythm games are fun. I've had my fair share of them, but that's not what I mean when I say mechanics. Here, let me give you an example. In Animal Crossing, you can make your own town tune. Now, this plays whenever you go into a house, talk to people, or when the hour changes. It's a simple system where you just drag notes, but you can actually get some cool results with it. There are limitations like length and speed, but this lets my island feel just a bit different from everyone else's. Minecraft has these neat little things called note blocks, and I used to think that they're useless. And to be honest, they still kind of. To use note blocks, you need both knowledge and redstone and music. Each time you right-click a block, the block plays a different note. But if you use a redstone connection, it plays the note that you set. Use repeaters for rests and connections between note blocks, and you can make actual songs. I think this mechanic alone got more kids into music than any band class ever could. Tomodachi Life is one of the few games where I could self-insert myself right next to Dan Tidiam and Sasuke. More importantly, this game has a little feature called the Music Hall.
Here, you can write lyrics to pre-made melodies for your Mies to sing.
I only make the most deep, thought-provoking, and depressing lyrics known to man.
Seven-year-old me was a musical genius.
Okay, I have other stuff to talk about in this video, so rapid fire. Mario Paint has this cute little composition tool in it where you can make your own music. If you were on YouTube a decade ago, you know this. Mario Maker has note blocks, and I'm not talking about the ones in Minecraft. These are a pain in the ass to set up, but it's pretty cool to use. Depending on the elevation that the note block is on changes the actual note that's played. You can make entire songs with this, and I think that is so cool. Ocarina of Time makes an instrument the main item of the game. They could have easily made all of these items or masks, but they decided to make all of these into fighting game combos. Speaking of fighting games, Skullgirls has this character named Big Band, who has the gimmick of music, right? But you can literally play a song mid-combo.
Also, his blood type is B-flat, and I think that's cute.
Okay, moving on. I'm sure most people watching this video know that our funny little brain likes to connect what our senses sense to what we experience. This is why when you eat a childhood food, you suddenly remember a memory from the depths of your mind. I would say that video game music forces you to remember because it is a purely interactive experience. You remember making that first house in Minecraft. You remember fighting Armstrong on the hardest difficulty, and you remember fighting Dark Gaia. And the fact that the final boss of Sonic Unleashed is way more memorable than the Sonic Generations one, despite me actually playing Sonic Generations more, shows how a song can change how I remember a game. Video game music is more than just music. It holds memories, emotion, power, character, and is honestly just bangers. Most of the time.
But screw that, there's a new crisis in town. It's called going to Ohio 26 times in the next year.